It's the How We Shoot Hybrid podcast discussing topics around photography, videography and running a business. My name's Jules and I'm here with Kieran. Hey Kieran.
Evening.
On this episode, we're going to be having a bit of a catch up because it's been a few weeks, hasn't it, mate? And since
it's been a while. It's been a while, Jules. Life has got in the way, hasn't it?
But we're also... It has, mate. It has. As it usually does at this time of year as things start getting busy through the summer. Yeah. But we're going to be talking as well about how kind of bookings are, how inquiries are, and how if we want to look at making extra money, extra revenue streams, diversifying income, so that we're not as worried about things if they are a little bit quieter. How we might do that, and there's different ways that we might be able to do that with our skill set and knowledge. So
skill set is a strong word there, Jules.
Come on, mate.
Our black set. I call it a black set.
Black set.
Am I selling myself?
Yeah, you might as well just say hire me.
Yeah, just hire me. Yeah.
So yeah, what have you been up to, mate? What's been going on in your world?
Well, just not much wedding wise, to be fair, Jules. I mean, that's a good start, isn't it? Like people out there that are panicking over not having many bookings and whatnot. I mean, I think you're the opposite now, aren't you? It's all kicking off for you right now, but it's pretty chilled and quiet for me. But kind of expected that. Whacked my prices up earlier in the year, so kind of just hanging out really and waiting for the bookings to come in. But not much, just personal stuff more than anything else. What about yourself? Are you crazy now, or?
Yeah. I mean, I always find that the school holidays take my knees, take my legs, because I feel like I'm doing okay, and then the school holidays happen, and it really throws a spanner in the works for getting work done. And you always have, like you've just said about personal stuff, you always have personal stuff that comes up, and like, just messes with like the plan you had in your mind about how you're going to get things done. So nothing major, but just the usual stuff. And I'm purposefully quieter this year than I ever have been since I started doing this. So like 7 years ago is roughly when I started, and I would say that I've got probably less weddings this year than I had in year 2.
Yeah.
But maybe even year 1, I can't say without looking at it properly. But they're at a good price. I kind of feel like I've got to that point where I've got my pricing sorted out, and so that I can take less weddings. But I've also got bits of commercial work, and I'll be honest, I've found that I've had quite a few what you would class as late or last minute inquiries.
Yeah.
And that's something I want to bring up. I want to bring that up because, I think people, I don't think it's just something I've experienced. I've heard it from other people. I think it's, a bit of a trend that seems to be happening in terms of people booking things later. And usually you get that with video. The majority of my work's come from video over the years. So I'm used to getting, 50% of my work within the year it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Or maybe not quite 50, but around that number. And but this year I'm finding people are booking photo and video like a few months out.
Yeah, I'm getting exactly the same. A couple of them. Yeah, I didn't actually realize you were the same. I was talking to another photographer who put their prices up, and like it's 3 to 6 months in advance that they're getting booked up. And I'm wondering whether that actually has got something to do with like going into the realms of different clientele and pricing, that they're not booking in advance, or if it's just the state of the wedding industry at the moment or whatnot. I don't know, but that's an interesting one.
Yeah, it could be. I don't think. I think that certainly like the luxury market, I think people book later. They plan weddings quite quickly in shorter periods of time. They decide they're getting married and they do it. Yeah. Because money isn't as much of an issue. They're not having to save and things. Right.
Yeah. I think you hit the
But
nail on the
I
head
don't
there.
think
Yeah.
I'm not operating in the luxury market most of the time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm most of the time I'm in the upper mid tier,
Yeah.
and so I don't feel like I do feel like people still, up until recently, they did used to plan quite far in advance.
Yeah.
It just seems to be something that's happening, like booking photo and video. Booking video with a few months out, a few weeks out is fair enough, but booking not even booking a photographer until
Yeah.
like 2 months, 4 months before your wedding, in the middle market. I'm talking normal kind of venues, normal
Yeah.
couples, not people that have got shitloads of cash.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but it's what's been happening.
It's working anyway. You know what? Like I used to like getting booked up a year, 2 years in advance and whatnot because you can kind of see like your future and like what you're coming in. But yeah, I'm kind of appreciating the last minute ones. Really, it's a bit. Yeah, I don't know. I think mentally for me, not knowing what's coming around the corner is better rather than knowing that you've got
Really?
X amount of. I mean, like I'm not talking like a week in advance type thing. Like a couple of months in advance, quite good. But yeah, I think and maybe I'm talking like previous years and not pre-pandemic, but it's quite daunting sometimes when you're looking. You're like, shit, I've got like 60 weddings this year and whatnot. Like it's a bit of a
Yeah, when
minefield
you
knowing what you've got to cope with. But when it's only a couple of months in advance, you're just like, oh, you know what? I wasn't going to be booked on that day, so yeah, let's do it. It's all right, isn't it? I think mentally for me,
yeah,
it's easier. Yeah,
I think it depends. I do think, and we're probably, as we normally do, we're going off on
we're
like different
waffling.
tangents,
Yeah,
but I do think that when you first start out and when you're building your business and your prices are lower, I do think that certainly the way I do things is I know what figure I need to hit. So
yeah,
like I kind of get to a figure where I'm like, if I get that figure, I've kind of paid the bills.
mm-hmm.
So that's the minimum I need to earn, and then
Yeah,
everything after that is, it's, it's I want a bit more, but start going way past that, and it's all kind of bonus money.
yeah,
It just means like it's more comfortable.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Maybe it pays for holidays and things like that, and so
yeah,
I guess when you first start out, it's much harder to get to that base figure.
yeah,
But like as your prices increase, that base figure is a lot less weddings. So that means you kind of like, right, I've got my base, and then everything past that, you can decide whether you take it or not. And for
yeah,
me,
absolutely.
I have a real hard time saying no.
Yeah, I do as well. Yeah, I must admit, and then I regret it. Yeah, yeah, I'm the same. Anyway,
Yeah.
this podcast we've decided, haven't we, that we're going to talk about trends and like diversifying to make a bit of extra dollar.
Yes. Well, we'll do
Go on.
trends for the
Yeah.
next one. So
Okay.
this one
Trends on the
we'll
next
do
one.
about the trends
The
on the
extra
next one,
dollar.
just because otherwise it's going to be
We're going to be
like a
going on
really
for
long
hours,
episode.
and no one wants to listen to us blabbering on for hours.
So this one's about the additional money.
Yeah. How do we make
So
extra cash jewels in this day and age?
yeah, well, before we kind of start going into them, for me, I always wanted to not just do wedding photography for that reason, and
Mm-hmm.
particularly post COVID.
Yeah.
I think having other ways that you can make money, not just all in one basket,
Yeah.
having your eggs in different baskets, I think it makes you feel a lot more at ease,
Yeah.
shall we say. So I kind of years ago started doing little bits of commercial work, and it was always my plan to ramp that up and to do different things. Now, not everybody's going to want to do different things because it's not really what they enjoy doing, or they don't feel confident kind of spreading themselves too thin because they want to focus on something and be really, really good at it. Whereas
Yeah.
I'm more like, I like the diversity of doing different stuff because it keeps me interested in what I'm doing. I think if I do the same thing week in, week out all the time, I don't have the joy in it anymore. If
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah. No.
I don't know
Okay.
about how do you feel about
No, I agree. Yeah, it's. I mean, like, I agree. Yeah, I kind of went down the opposite route in just sticking in the weddings side of things. I mean, I have done a bit of commercial here and there, but I think my view in it was, I'm in the industry. What more can I offer people within like my remit to make that extra cash? I mean, like obviously, like as we discussed on an earlier podcast, I was first a videographer, then I became a photographer, and then I started offering photo and video because I wanted to make that extra cash. So then, yeah, in my head, like I'm there already. The people are booking me. How do I get more money from them? Like obviously, you've got like your albums and like engagement shoots, second shooters and whatnot. Like you can add on, but what other ways? In my head, I was always thinking, what other ways can I make that extra cash by basically doing the job when I'm there? If you see what I mean, I'm already going to be at the wedding. What else can I do for them that's going to bring me in the extra couple of £100 to pay for that holiday in Mauritius or somewhere? I don't know.
Mate, we've got young families. We're not doing that.
No, we're not doing that. No, it'd be chaos, wouldn't it? But
holiday at Scarborough.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah. Have you been stalking me? But yeah, I mean, like I think there's loads of ways of diversifying, isn't there? I mean, like this is probably quite a good one to talk about because obviously you have gone down the commercial route and diversified into that as well. And like I've diversified in the way that I've changed my packages so many times to try and like offer people so much more, and just to make myself some extra cash that way. So yeah, I think it could be quite a good chat, this one, really, because we've both got totally different views on it.
Yeah, but we also both started offering hybrid.
Yeah,
and that's like you just said. You started off with video, went into photo, started offering photo and video, and that I did the same. And it was
you did.
I come at this from a place of I love what I'm doing. I love using a camera, and I love making stuff. I love being creative. But I kind of came at it from a business perspective. When I came into this, it was like, it's important. I'm leaving like a career, and I need to make money. And so this was job first, fun second, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the enjoyment factor was there, but I needed to make sure I made money. So the whole hybrid photo video, offering both services, as well as the fact that I was working with my wife, which made it quite convenient because there was two of us to work at weddings. So I didn't need to worry about finding additional shooters that I could rely on because I had one that, was there. And when she came with me to weddings, the extra money we were charging for that service came back into the house.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have to split that. I didn't have to pay somebody subcontract or anything like that. So that was convenient. But the reason for doing photo and video was mainly a money one. And if I'm being honest, for a lot of years, I used to go and do the photo. The video I loved and I was good at it. I used to go do the photo and I literally fucking hated it.
Did you really?
but it was a financial, motivator, not through. I think I did enjoy it when I created a nice image that I look back on and go, oh, nice, I captured that nicely, And when I look back on the whole album, I'd be happy. But I'll be honest, doing the actual photos to start with, I found quite stressful.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So at the time, it was like, I know I need to do this, but I don't really enjoy it. Whereas I think now it's different. I'd actually quite happily take photo weddings on their own more often because I actually enjoy doing the photo just as much as the video now. And it's, I find it easier.
The experience? Do you think the experience that you gained from it made you change your approach to it and whatnot?
Yeah, I think I found video quite easy because I was making something in the edit. Yeah. So the idea of like capturing video and handing my footage over to somebody would have been quite frightening because I don't think that to start with I was the best technically with a video camera.
Right.
I wasn't producing amazing looking footage, but I was good at editing.
Right.
So I think that's where it came alive for me. Whereas with photo, you either get a good shot or you don't?
Well, you don't. Yeah, there's not. I mean, like there's a certain amount you can get away with an edit, isn't there? But it's. I'm making noise here. My headphones are like wrapped around. It's like pulling me that way. Bear with me 1 second. Let me unwrap this.
I'll just fill. I'll fill while Kieran untangles himself.
I'm done.
Are you
That's better.
untangled?
Yeah, I'm not choking myself anymore. I'll try not to make much noise. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's kind of almost similar to the way like I started offering both. It was more of a way of making extra cash rather than the enjoyment out of it, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, I actually the only difference I found with the photo and film is like the photography side of it. Like, they just felt like there was a lot more responsibility, and I think that the couple and the guests look at you a lot more for like coordination on the day than they do with a videographer, which is quite odd, really, isn't it? But I suppose in a way, like, I kind of worked totally different when I was a videographer as well, because I kind of did almost just shadow the photographer and let them do what they wanted to do, and I just captured the moments in between. So I mean, like,
Yeah.
it was fairly easy that way, wasn't it? So yeah, there was a bit of a change going in from videographer to photographer. But I mean, I think you mentioned in one of your other podcasts that you're, I don't know if introvert is the right word, but you didn't feel confident speaking your voice type thing, or you're pretty chilled, quiet guy. Whereas I didn't really mind it. Like, I am kind of like an introvert myself, but yeah, I mean, we're blabbering on again, aren't we? But once I got into the zone, I could kind of, as a
It's relevant.
photographer, yeah. Once I got into the zone, got my cameras on, I was a bit of a different person. Like, I was like, well, this is me for the day. This is my job. Let's get it done. So I kind of enjoyed it because it wasn't like who I normally am day to day, if you know what I mean. So working 1 or 2 days a week at a wedding, it was like I'm someone a little bit different. That sounds weird, doesn't it? But yeah, it was kind of that way.
You get to no. I agree, because I think of myself as playing a character when I'm doing wedding photography.
That's exactly what I'm like. Yeah,
I'm playing the part of Jules, the wedding photographer, not really like. So like, I work obviously doing film a lot, video a lot. I work alongside lots of different photographers, and I've done over the years. And I always envy the photographers who can be the life and soul. I mean, sometimes it can be a bit too much, because especially like we were talking about this before we started recording, but it's sometimes hard if somebody is interacting with people all day, because it makes filming the day a bit harder. But so like, sometimes that could be annoying, but I do think that the photographers that can just, come into this room and like kind of captivate everybody, I think that's great. And in some respects, mate, I see that when I've worked with you, but not in like an overbearing way, like some people can have. But yeah, I just see myself as a character. I'm playing that part. Whereas when I'm doing video, I'm literally just myself.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same, and that's strange, isn't it? I suppose it is because of what people expect from a photographer and a videographer. So we've kind of made that. Yeah, that's
yeah. You have to do it different. So let's kind of go into then. We obviously the podcast is all about hybrid.
Yeah,
but photo and video separately too. So that's why we did hybrid, because it was a great way to make extra money.
Yeah.
And I guess the byproduct out of it is that we learn additional skills and develop those skills, so that we're now competent in different skills, which I think now is where it's the area I see most growth in.
100%.
There are more people wanting somebody or a team of people that provide photo and video than they do want separate people, because rather than video being like this tag on now, it's almost like I see it more as more people, not everybody, but more people are going, I need both photo and video from the start. But there are other services that are now coming into play. Like you mentioned before when we were discussing sort of what we were going to talk about on this episode about content creators. So tell me like your thoughts on content creators in terms of let's not talk about them as a separate entity for now. We can talk about that in the next episode because it's a trend, and I think we're going to talk about trends in the next episode. But let's talk about content creators in terms of how can we make that something that's beneficial to us.
Definitely. Well, I mean, to be fair, like I think what we need to realize is, and like when shooting hybrid, we're not going to be offering the same package as if we're just solely photo or solely video. Like, for example, this is talking from my side of it. You might do the same, but
no, I agree with you.
If I'm just shooting video, the package is going to be different than if I'm shooting photo and video, because I can't create something like a video worth 10, 15 minutes when I've got to focus on photo as well. So my package is changed to a shorter film and etc. So I think when it comes to like content creation, I think that we could almost implement that into packages ourselves, in a smaller scale. So like I mean, a few people might have worked with content creators before, and there's quite a lot to it. Like they're there all day long. They are capturing like a lot of the day alongside us. The difference with them is like they're doing it live, so they've got like the couple's Instagram accounts and whatnot, and they're posting, they're making reels, posting stories, but they're still kind of capturing pretty much what we're capturing. So they're capturing details, they're capturing the dress, doing a bit of the ceremony. So like, there's nothing saying that we actually couldn't create maybe even like a little package of content create. I mean, like I think you mentioned you've already added it onto your packages, haven't you?
Yeah, so to start with, because I'm not really sure, I thought about it in two different ways. So I thought about it in, do I add it on as something that I will take sort of like snippets of footage that I'm capturing anyway, deliver it in short clips to the couple the day after or whatever, that they can use, in vertical format, as reels, as like stuff to put on social. So I thought about that, and that's an option. But I also, funnily enough, I got an inquiry from somebody who still hasn't booked with me, but they might. I'm not going to say too much just in case they listen to this podcast.
Yeah.
But
book me instead.
They have, but they've started doing content creation. So they are like they're offering content creation at weddings, and she mentioned this in our, like we had a call, like initial call, and we were talking about it, and I said that's really interesting, and so we talked about it quite a bit, and I thought after that, and I didn't tell her this. I'm just basically I will be able to do it one way or another, whether I used her or somebody else, or I got my wife to come with me and do it, because she can use a phone, and we've got a little gimbal for the phone. Do you know what I mean? We can do it, right? So one way or another I can offer it. But my initial thing was, this lass, I know how much she was charging, so I just thought, well, I'll just add a bit onto that and offer it and see if anybody books this as a package, and then I can just get her to come with me to the wedding and do it. She gets paid, she'll be happy. She can even do it under her own name for all I care. But the fact is that I'm offering that service under like my umbrella, and I'm not bothered too much about making loads of money from it. But it was more it was a test. So it's on there in my packages to see whether it gets booked. Because go on.
I think when we're thinking about like adding packages and all that, putting add-ons to our packages and whatnot, you've just got to be sensible and think about the things that actually, is it going to be possible for me to do it, or is it going to cause me an absolute headache if someone like says, right, I want to book you and I want to book your content creation package. Is that going to be easy for you to achieve, or is it going to be a nightmare? And for me, like, so I do run a separate business, not to do with weddings, and it is like marketing and social media, as you know. And like now and again, I did put a couple of stories up and whatnot on my wedding photography post, just to try and like boost some interest in it and whatnot for like local businesses. And one of my couples said, "Can you do content creation on the day for us? Because my family's in America, and then a lot of them aren't going to be here. So it'd be nice to
Yeah.
them to follow it on the stories and whatnot." So I was like, "Yeah, no problem. I haven't done it yet, but I know exactly how I'm going to do it."
Also, if you got this, is booked for you?
Yeah. This is end of the year, and it's not going to be. It's going to be easy. It's not going to be a problem. Like,
But compared to doing a full video coverage, it's not. It's
well,
not
exactly.
hard,
I
is
mean,
it?
like,
I'm not like I'm not belittling it. I just mean
no,
you know how
it's
to
not like.
shoot something. You've just got to adapt it.
But the thing is, as well, with content creation, you're not going to be filming half an hour's worth of shots. It's 10, 15 seconds. So like, I'm going to
Yeah.
be photographed. Like, it's back to the beginning. It's exactly the same as doing hybrid, really, but even easier. So you're going to be capturing a bit of bridal prep. Get your phone out, bang, bit of bridal prep, some detail shots. Take some photos of the detail shots. Like, all I'm going to do is take her Instagram account details, log into it, and like, you know how quick it is to post a story and whatnot. And then maybe on my break time, I'll create a quick reel or something and chuck it on there for her, and like blast
Yep.
everything together. End of the night, again, another reel, chuck it on there. It's going to be super simple. I mean, like, I've even got a strap that goes on my chest for my GoPro, but it can convert for the phone, so I can just walk around and film
Yeah,
like
you could
little
just
bits and bobs.
literally be walking and
I could,
capturing
yeah, it's going to
stuff.
be
Yeah.
easy peasy, and like, that's money in my pocket for barely any work, really. It's not going to be that much hard work. I can guarantee you it's not. So I think adding that as a package on is going to be a new trend that we'll get into in the next episode. But I think that's quite a good little package to have. And like, content creators are probably going to get really pissed off with us because we're going to be taking a lot of their work away from them.
If we're doing, but it's only the same as videographers getting pissed off because photographers are offering highlight
Well,
films,
exactly, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
it's only the
It is,
same
yeah,
as like
yeah,
people getting pissed off because I'm offering hybrid.
yeah.
Do you know what I
And
mean? And
like,
like
yeah,
the videographers get pissed off because they're like, how can you, you'd watering the product down, and
yeah,
then photographers get pissed off because you kind of like treading on their toes a little bit. But
yeah.
are you really treading on people's toes? Are you
No,
really taking anything out of there? It's like,
I think the only
if
thing that you are doing there, which you've just got to be clear, is you are watering the product down slightly, because you're not
yeah,
walking around all day as the content creator. You're there as the photographer, the videographer, both, aren't you? That's your main job. And like, as long as you let the
yeah,
couple know that that's your main job, and yes, you can capture some little clips to put on their Instagram and whatnot throughout the day, no problem. Then, I mean, like, a lot of people, that's all they want. I think I've shot, the hundreds of weddings I've shot, I think 2 weddings have had content creators, so not many. So I don't even think people really think about it that often. But I reckon they probably would if you had it in your packages.
yeah, and
And
it's
so, like,
definitely
content creation, an
something that's
extra
on the rise.
250 quid or something. Yeah, I think it will be, yeah. And especially like with like the era we're in now, and like the generations and stuff. Like, the people that are getting married now are people that were born in like, bloody hell, like 2000 and
They've
well,
grown up with
2000,
social
2000
media.
and yeah, they have. Yeah. So they've grown up with that. So that's the kind of thing they're expecting. Like, gone are the days of like shooting the people in dinosaur ages and whatnot. That's past now, isn't it? But so yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
They are growing up. Like, a lot of people these days that get married, they've grown up with social media. So they're gonna want that type of coverage, I think so.
and it's the same as offering photo and video for me.
Yeah. Yeah. It
It's
is.
just an extension of
Yeah.
that. Like, rather than resisting the fact that, well, I think that we should stick to photo, I think we should stick to video because that's what someone does.
Yeah.
If there's the amount of inquiries I get, bearing in mind 2017 was my first full year in business. I don't remember anybody ever inquiring with. I mean, there's reasons for it because I obviously market to this now.
Yeah.
So I've got landing pages built around photo and video coverage,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how I get most of my inquiries through Google, is because I have offered photo and video.
Yeah.
It's there in text.
Yeah.
rather than that people are actually searching for photography and videography together. People aren't just searching anymore for a photographer. People aren't just searching for a videographer. They're searching for a joint package. They're searching for a company or a business or a person that does both. They weren't 5 years ago. They weren't 3 years ago, really. But now they are. And I can tell you how much more popular that is. Like my inquiries now, I've probably talked about this before, but I reckon I'm now 60-70% of my inquiries are coming as photography and videography.
I'm the same. Yeah. I don't think there's many these days that don't inquire at least for both. I think sometimes they inquire for both, and then a lot of people realise that they don't have the budget, so they go with one or the other. But the inquiries initially are for both photo and film.
Absolutely. And so if content creation carries on being popular, which it probably will, then it's just another way, isn't it, of adapting your business to the market as it changes. And that is just like if people had carried on shooting on film when digital came in, and digital changed and revolutionized what the wedding industry became. Just like when wedding videography used to be a massive camera, and a very kind of boring document of the day. And now it's cool and it's creative and it's done on small cameras. You have to move with the times. The dude carrying the big camera is gone. Film photography is a bit of a different one because obviously it's coming back as a kind of a niche, creative, nostalgic thing, which we'll talk about when we come to trends in the next one. But the crux of it is, if the people who shot on film had just carried on shooting on film and hadn't got on with digital, would they carried on being successful in their business? Probably not.
That's it.
So you've just got to move with the times.
You do.
But I think we kind of laboured that one, haven't we, about the content creators a little bit. But there are other things you could do with your photography. Like, for example, if you're thinking I need to make some more money, but I'm not getting those wedding bookings. You've got the camera, you've got the equipment, you've got the knowledge to take photos. There's lots of other genres of photography where you can make money. And it might be that you don't want to do that, but family photography. Have you thought about doing family photography before?
I have done. I've done little bits and bobs. I mean, like there's a couple of photographers in our kind of clan that do like family photo sessions and whatnot. And I have done it in the past. Not really my thing. I don't think. I don't know. I'm that old. We're going to get like slated here for this. You're going to say, "Don't say it, Kieran." But like, I've got that view that like family photographers and stuff. I just feel like it's more. I think I'd be more
say
tempted.
Females, aren't you?
I know. I'm going to be more tempted.
Oh no! You're going to get us cancelled.
I know. I'll be more tempted as a client to book a female photographer just because I know that they'd probably be a bit more quick to warm the kids up. Do you get what I mean? That sounds so bad, doesn't it?
I get that.
In my head, that's kind of like cut me off really wanting to push that side of things, really. I mean, that's not the only reason. I think it's hard. Family photography is hard when you've got kids that don't want the photos taken, and like the parents are looking at you to try and capture some nice family photos, and it's hard. That's hard. That's a hard thing to do. So there's quite a skill in it.
I agree.
I mean, I can't even take a decent photo of my own son because he runs off from me. So how can I do it for others?
Same with me.
Yeah.
Same with me. Yeah. When I first started doing photography, so I hadn't really shot any weddings, in the way that I didn't have any photos. I didn't have any experience doing photos. So I basically did like a Facebook post and out to kind of all people who knew me, and I did free photo sessions for like family photography. I must have done about 20 of them. And like, I mean, at the time it taught me a lot, you know, about getting photos of people, portraits and things. Because obviously kids kids, families, they are the hardest ones. A wedding situation is easy. People look amazing. They're wearing their best clothes, and they're kind of there for a reason. Like, you meet up in a park with, you know, a family and the kids. And like you say, you haven't got a day, unless you do like a whole day with them, and you know, they can afford to pay for that. You haven't got a whole day to kind of get to know the family, get to know the kids. If you don't know these people, like, I knew a lot of these people. You know, they were friends of mine, and they kind of might have not met the kids before, but because I knew the mums and dads, I kind of knew what the kids would be like.
Eased them into it a bit,
But yeah, it was hard, and I did try and do it for a bit, and I just thought, I just feel so like, you know, like I said about doing the wedding photography to start with.
Yeah.
I just felt so awkward doing these family sessions, you know, and there wasn't a lot. I wasn't charging people enough for it to be worth the stress it caused, should we say?
Yeah. But then again, like, there's people out there that I know that are of both sexes, and they're nailing it. They're doing really well. So I think it's down to my like views on it and how I can actually manage.
Yeah, and if you've got the aptitude for it, it's a perfect way to make extra money, because there's a bigger pool of people. You know, there's quite a lot of people getting married. It shouldn't technically be hard to get a certain number of jobs doing weddings, because there's that many weddings happening. But if you think about how many families there are, how many people do actually probably want pictures of the kids,
and there's ways of doing it. Like, they do the people I know like do mini shoots. So it's like 20 minutes. So they'll they book out maybe 5-10 couples in a day, meet in a local park or woodland or whatnot. Time slots. There's your 20 minutes. Right, I'm going to do the route, photograph you all walking along and whatnot. Couple of posy pictures. Right, your 20 minutes is up. Next guys arrive. Like, it's like a conveyor belt. And like, to be fair, it's quite interesting in a way. Like, meeting new people, shooting different families and whatnot. Yeah, I mean, like, I can see the appeal to it for a lot of people. It is a good little side earner. If that's the type of thing that you think you could do, it's a good little side.
Yeah, because if you think about those mini shoots, you could make it's very, very straightforward to edit, because you're probably going to shoot the photos in the same places.
Yeah.
So you know, as long as the light isn't changing all the time, the editing's probably going to be quite quick, because you're probably just going to be like, well, I'll batch edit all the photos in this place and batch edit all the photos in this place, and take no time at all. And so, you know, out of a day's work, if you charge a reasonable amount, you know, you can make as much as you could probably make at a wedding doing mini shoots.
Yeah, you could do. Yeah, over a little weekend or something.
Yeah. Perfect. And so if you like doing stuff like that, then that's perfect, isn't it?
Tell you what, I might give it another go. I've sold myself into it again.
Well, there you go. That's the idea of this episode, is to
scrap weddings. Yeah, but I mean, like, that is a good route for a lot of people to go down, even if it's just like an add-on. I mean, like, I don't know if you know her, Catherine. I won't say last name in case, but she's gone into pet photography. She's literally become so popular.
This is what I was just going to say. So, what are the other things, mate? Is pet photography.
Pet photography, mind blown. I didn't think people were interested in that. Pet photography. What is that all about? But she's quit weddings, and she made a good living out of weddings. Do you want pet photography?
Yeah, but if you've got a dog and Catherine. I should be able to do my own.
Yeah, you should. Well, it's a different ball game again, though, isn't it?
Yeah, just like getting photos of your own kids is a nightmare.
It is. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, like, she's doing really well from it. So that's. I mean, like, funnily enough, she told me that she was leaving weddings to go and do this, and.
Did you think that sounds a bit crazy?
I did, yeah. I was like, I'm not sure if that's going to work. And like, literally the day after, knock on the door, and it was my next door neighbour saying, it's my daughter's 18th birthday. Can you take a photo of a dog so we can frame it? I was like, bloody hell. I didn't do it in the end. But it's...
Well, you've just given me another idea. There's another one. Proms.
Proms, yeah.
Proms, and like in America, you know, they call them high school seniors. It's not as big a market over here, but, you know, like photography, school photography, nursery photography. Honestly, mate, me and Lindsay had a stab at doing nursery
Oh,
photography.
did you?
That was fucking hard. That was
Yeah,
so
yeah.
hard, right?
I can imagine.
And we
I
wanted
still
to.
remember Luke's first nursery photo. We paid a lot of money for it as well, and like it was
Yeah.
just he looked miserable as fuck. He was not happy at all. But you know what? Like it's a good picture. Like it tells a story. Do you know what I mean?
Well, funnily enough, you know, like how school and nursery photography has always been like white background stuff. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
me and Lindsay, we pitched to. So it was the what was it? It was I think it was the nursery. That's it. It was the nursery that our daughter was going to at the time, and
yeah,
they approached us knowing what we did,
yeah,
and we pitched to them this idea of why don't we get the kids playing and like get more natural photos. So there will be somewhere they're looking at the camera. We get
yeah,
them to look at the camera and smile and stuff. But the idea is that there's like a whole storytelling element to it.
yeah.
Like, what does your kid usually do at
During
nursery,
the
and like
daytime,
what's the real life story? So that was kind of what we pitched, and we went round because it was a chain of nurseries. Some of the hardest days work I've ever done, right?
yeah,
And the editing afterwards was an absolute nightmare. And the delivery system, we had to like learn this whole delivery system, which you won't believe what some of the services that are out there, you know, like we use PicTime, PixieSet and all that.
yeah,
There's like one specifically for delivering this stuff.
yeah. There
And
is.
it's like really technical. And you have to give QR codes and all sorts of shit if you know, and or print stuff out.
Yeah.
And basically, we got all these natural photos, and we didn't sell any. Like
Oh,
we
really?
literally lost so much money on doing this. Like we thought we might sell thousands of quids worth of photos, and we were in the hundreds.
Yeah,
And no one wanted it, and everyone's feedback was the same pretty much, apart from the odd person that got it. Everyone was like, "Well, we were expecting like white background and him like
yeah.
stood
Oh,
smiling and
shit.
you know like looking his best or looking her
Yeah,
best, you know, type
yeah,
thing." People just didn't get it, but yeah.
yeah.
So
It's that's
if that's your thing,
that's the tradition of it, though, isn't it? It's like trying to change that is a difficult. It's like school photography, isn't it? Like you expect them to be on some sort of white or faded background, looking sat up straight, looking smart, smiling at the camera. Like that's the tradition of school and nursery photography for years, isn't it? So to change it, tricky one, isn't it? So basically,
but
you've not sold anyone the idea of
well, no.
doing
What
nursery photography for a living.
I think the idea was that if anybody's listening to this and thinking, shall I have a stab at school or nursery photography, that just stick with what, you know, stick with the good old, don't try and reinvent it because you're
Yeah.
just going to fall on your face.
You know
Probably.
what? I
mean,
quite like
yeah,
your idea of the documentary kind of capturing side of it. I mean, like the nursery Luke used to go to, they did take photos and all that all the time and like document like them playing in the sand and whatnot. But I mean, they weren't professional photos. They weren't great photos. It was like taken on a phone. But I mean, like I used to love seeing them. So I can see
yeah.
the appeal. I can see the appeal of it. Like a professional photographer in for the day, capturing like the in between moments and like them
And
talking
there was some
baby
corkers in there,
language to
mate.
other. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It almost reminds me of. Can you remember that documentary where they left kids in the nursery by themselves for like 5 minutes and they used to film it to see what they get up to?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know if perfect. Like the best parts of the
But
day.
again, that's another kind of product because obviously we can't, you know, we don't want to exclude people who are more into video and filmmaking.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know, there's lots of avenues you could make videos. It's much more complicated, much more difficult to do and to make money from it.
I was going to say it
But
must
I'm
be
like,
quite difficult to sell there.
if you're twiddling your thumbs and you don't have, you know, if you
Yeah,
don't have it all on and you're trying to make some extra revenue,
yeah,
approaching a nursery to do some stuff like that. I mean, loads of people make money, you know, videographers make money off filming school productions and
yeah,
dance performances and things like that. You
hmm,
know, if you've got all the gear and you do weddings usually and you're finding it difficult, and this will kind of segue a little bit into commercial stuff.
yeah.
But like even, you know, maybe not like the nursery stuff, but certainly the family shoots, family videos, like that is something that I have this whole concept around I'm not going to talk about it because I don't want someone to steal the idea. I mean, I'm not reinventing the wheel, I don't think, but I don't know anybody who's doing this what I'm thinking of.
Well, you can't
But I
tease us
just,
like that, Jules.
all right, okay, fair
No,
enough. Because
don't do it.
I don't think
Tell me after. Because if
well,
it's a good idea, then everyone will pinch it.
well, no, I'll talk about it because I probably won't ever get around to doing it
Go on,
because
then.
it's something. It's more of a labour of love, I
Yeah,
suppose, than a thing of wanting to do it because I think it'll make me, loads of money as a business.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea of telling like we if you approach wedding filmmaking in a way where you're trying to tell the story of someone's wedding day or someone's like love story, then I think you can transfer that skill into other things. So one of my ideas that I would love to do is to go in and tell people stories like as a family or as like a person.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing I thought of is people who have got like a terminal illness or something. And it sounds really freaking morbid. But if you think about it, what is so much better if you've got somebody who's like, got Alzheimer's or they've got some sort of degenerative disease,
Mm-hmm.
how nice would it be to be able to capture that person so that you can go back to that when they're no longer with you.
Yeah.
To be able, they've got terminal cancer or something, but you can capture like moments with them in their family, tell the story. It is quite sad. It's a really like, depressing topic in a way, but the idea of being able to, I think something else that had appealed to me. This is voluntary, by the way, but like there's, and I don't think I could do it, but there are like charities that, gift of a wedding that do. I've done stuff for gift of a
I've
wedding,
done one or two before, yeah.
And there's other charities that go in and capture photos or videos and stuff for people in that in sort of situations, and I just think that is. Yeah, I'm probably not telling it as I kind of envisaged it properly.
Yeah.
But I just think that would be. I think that it's not going to be a huge market, but I think that there could be some really powerful work there.
Oh yeah, I can see it. Yeah, it's what, it'd be quite a. I don't know if anyone. I've not really looked into that. I don't know if anyone does it, but that'd be quite an interesting one to approach the charities and whatnot, and see if that's the type of thing people might be into. I wonder how that'd go down. I mean, like I think people quite like that. I mean, like I've had family members with Alzheimer's and whatnot, and I can see the people. It'd be lovely to like look back at messages and whatnot from them.
Yeah.
But,
that's what I mean.
It's a good idea.
As a family, if it was my, let's say it was one of my parents or something, and I was in a position where I could get someone to come in a few days, over a short period, of time, and film different activities that we were doing together. Maybe like, get them talking on camera a little bit about like parts of their life or whatever.
Yeah.
I just think I'd definitely pay, someone a couple of grand to do that because it would preserve those memories.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And not only that, but like, I think a lot of people may be quite embarrassed to tell, like, especially like when they're at the stage of like Alzheimer's and whatnot, might be quite embarrassed to like tell the family like really personal stuff to them. I might find it quite uncomfortable. Whereas if you filmed it and got them to say like, right, just tell them how you feel and like tell me about your daughter and like what you love about your daughter. Do you know what I mean? Like it can be really personal. Like, oh,
yeah, how special that could be.
Oh my god! Like, I mean, like I think you'd probably be able to say you could even step out the room, record it. I'm going to leave the room now, and I want you to just
and just talk to the camera.
Yeah. I mean, like we're getting into a deep here, aren't we? But I think it's a really nice.
It is getting deep. Yeah. I'll be honest. I didn't kind of envisage talking about that, but just as it came into my mind as something when we were talking about that, and just to kind of steer it away from that bit, like the adventure sessions. I'm sure you've probably done
I've done a couple of them.
It's like an engagement shoot, but it ends up being like a video as well, and it's an adventure session. And I think stuff like that, your couple shoots, I just did an elopement up in the Lake District a few days ago, And I was doing photo and video for that by myself. It was just a few hours, like 3-4 hours coverage. But I got them to do an interview.
Yeah.
So
I
that
was, I was
I
going to
got
bring
them
this
to
up
both
later
talk.
on. Yeah.
And honestly, it's one of the best. It's one of the best things I've ever done.
Yeah.
Like I managed to get some. I was lucky, you know, that location plays a part.
Yeah.
But nothing really happened in this day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it wasn't the nicest hotel in the world. It wasn't the ceremony was obviously lovely and intimate, but there was like 6 of them. You know, there was their parents and them. That
Yeah.
was it. There wasn't anything happening. It was just me, them, few photos getting ready, talking to camera, doing this interview, ceremony, and then went down and took some photos by the lake.
Yeah.
That was it. And then they came back and had afternoon tea. There was nothing to it, no speeches, nothing. But I think it's such, you know, the photos and the video is, I'm really happy with it. You know,
Yeah.
compared to a lot of effort that goes into some wedding
Mm.
days.
I
Do you
did
know
one
what I mean?
quite similar a couple of years ago down in Devon, where they basically eloped. They got married in a vineyard, and then that
Yeah.
was practically it. It was just them two. I was a witness, and the like venue owner was the witness as well. Got married, had afternoon tea. Then we just drove around like the coast of Devon and just different
Yeah.
locations, the beach and like the hills and countryside and whatnot, filming and photographs and stuff. And it was lovely, but like I was like, there's not like before we went, like they were like, it's going to take us maybe 4 hours all of this all together with the traveling involved. And I was like, there's not going. It's going to be difficult for me to capture any story on this when they're not really doing anything. So I also had the idea of doing like interviews, and it was quite nice. Like they both like were separated. Like I filmed the bride. She had an interview. She said what she wanted to say, and like how did you meet? How do you feel about him?
Yeah. Yeah.
All the soppy stuff. And like to be fair, like I left the room because I could see she was awkward and she didn't really want to say all this cheesy stuff in front of her. Well, not cheesy, but emotional, like personal stuff. She didn't want
Yeah.
to say this personal stuff in front of me. So went out of the room, gave her 10 minutes, came back in, and she was tearing, she was tearful and stuff. I thought, well, that's brilliant. I don't even know what she said, but I know
But
it's
you
going to
know
be
that it's
good.
going to be
I know it's going to be
useful.
good.
Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
with him. Left him to it, and it was easy. And actually, it made a really good like storyline, like sound, like voiceover and whatnot to the movie, and
Yeah.
it
Yeah. Yeah.
flowed it really nicely, perfect. And like that to me, like I don't really do it anymore unless people ask or I feel like it would benefit the video. But like going back to like add-ons for weddings, like interviews, like you could even like say, I can get there in the morning or just after you're both ready, give me 10 minutes each, say your personal message to each other that no one else knows what you're going to say, not even you two, and you can have it the day after the wedding or whatnot, or you
Yeah.
can, do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like you could make that. I think that's quite a decent package. I've always thought about stuff like that. I
I think
did
that's
want,
awesome, mate. Yeah.
yeah, I did once do the like message booth, is it? You know, like where you set a camera
Guest
up and people,
messages.
yeah, guest messages. I mean, like I made quite a bit of money on that. To be fair, like it was a wedding down south, and there was about 500 guests. It was massive, and I like the coordinator said, just set up a little camera, and the coordinator like made a little sign saying, "Leave your
What do you have
messages
them
here" and
do? Like
whatnot.
put a pound in to do a message?
I should have. I mean, I'd have made a fortune, pound each. But honestly, like it was a mistake, and I think I've not really thought about it since because I haven't really done it since. But I think you'd have to kind of like work out how to do it properly because I opened it up. They had the first dance at like 8-9 o'clock, and then I thought, right, well, the deal was that after the first dance, I'd go and set the camera up. They could leave the messages, and I'd like man it, like
Yeah.
and control it that way. So from like 9 o'clock, and every single person was just queuing up. I was like walking down, there was like 500 people. I thought, fuck. I
Seriously.
was there till like 1 o'clock in the morning, filming these bloody messages, and then the editing afterwards was a nightmare. So because you just got all this time just to edit,
I have done it. I
absolute
have
nightmare.
done it early on. I did messages because
Yeah,
they asked for people to do messages like that,
yeah,
and yeah, the editing side took ages. Yeah,
a
because it's
long
just you got
time. I
all
mean,
these little clips, haven't
yeah,
you?
but I mean that would be a good add-on to have. But I think you just need to like streamline it a little bit. I didn't streamline it, So I think you just need to think about how you do it. But I mean, the majority of weddings, what you get between like 60 to 150 guests or something, don't you? So
Yeah, so you haven't got as many.
doing it on the night time, I thought was going to be the good idea because you'd get everyone drunk, having a laugh and stuff like that. But at the same time, they talk a lot when they're drunk. So
Yeah.
maybe doing it like on the downtime, like after the ceremony, where everyone's chilling, having a drink and stuff. Set a camera up in the corner or a simple camera that anyone can control, press record or
Yeah.
whatnot, and do it that way. That might be quite good. I reckon that's quite a decent package to add on. Really,
Have you thought about, like, did you ever think about doing photo booth or anything like that?
I did think about it, and I talked to a guy that was running a photo booth, and he put me off it for the main reason that he said that every single prop that he has goes missing at every wedding, so he has to repurchase. And I was like, I can't be asked with like trying to man and like. I think I wouldn't be good seeing people like running about and nicking off with me stuff and that. I'd get annoyed. So like, I thought that's not for me. I don't think
Photographer
that's really.
fighting at every
Yeah,
wedding.
exactly. Yeah, I would be. Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't know. It's not for me. Like when my wife was on maternity, she bought some love letters. You know, like the 6 foot ones. We had a van, so we thought we'd chuck them in there, and I'd just sell them at the weddings I'm at. So we made like 300 quid extra just by hiring out at the weddings, and that was all right. But
so
it was
why didn't you pursue that? Because that's another thing
well,
I
yeah,
thought about
you've
at
thought
one
about
point.
it. You know what? It was easy. I think the only issue was that you had to set them up first thing, so you're done. You don't need to bother with them anymore. And then the other problem is usually them types of letters are on the dance floor, and the dance floor's buzzing until end of night, isn't it? So you're practically stuck until the end of the night. Like if you're photographing, you could be out and away like 2 hours before or 3 hours before like people start disappearing. But I mean, like I did once or twice just kind of unplug them and take them as people were dancing, and they didn't really care really. But well,
That's funny.
yeah,
That's so funny.
No, I didn't actually.
Just imagine you like
didn't walk for the
out
middle.
with lights on.
Didn't walk for the middle of the dance floor with these massive 6 foot letters. They were on like the edge, just like unplug them and discreetly take them out. But and the other thing is like the disrespect people had for him. So they were like leaving like beers and like wines and all that, and like we had to like repaint them every bloody couple of months just to get the like wine stains out of them and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, like, yeah, you know what? Like, it was easy money, but I think I don't know. I was making pretty decent money then. So 300 quid here and there, it didn't feel really worth it. That sounds really big headed.
Yeah,
it didn't feel worth it for the
extra
effort of the extra hours and that I had to put in on like not getting home till like 1 o'clock in the morning because I had to wait for people to move off the dance floor and stuff. It just didn't really feel worth it. And then anyway, maternity ended. She went back to work, and like we ended up.
And you thought, I can't be asked for this.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, because they were mine then. Kind of, it was my responsibility to provide them to my couples and whatnot. And yeah, it just didn't pan out really. But I mean, like it's good if you've got the space, you've got a van and whatnot, or you've got something that you can lug them about in. Then
I think
it was easy. It was easy. It was really easy money. It was super easy money. But
yeah,
it's just whether you can be asked doing it. I mean, like if I can see why like people want to be like prop supplies and stuff at weddings because you literally turn up, drop it off, disappear, your job's done, pick it up the next day. Easy peasy. That's it, isn't it? But when you've got to kind of wait around all night to pick them up.
And you're sort of hiring out multiple things per wedding, or like maybe that's your only gig. So like
exactly,
your job is to go from this wedding and set up to the next wedding and set up and the next wedding and set up, and then the next day you go back and collect all that stuff. But you make a couple of grand out of it.
Yeah,
for like 2 days' work.
Yeah, exactly.
I think then that makes sense if that's if you're running it like that. But if you're just sort of doing it as an add-on to a wedding here and a wedding there, and then it totally kind of changes the way that your workflow, if you like, for going to that wedding and leaving that wedding. You've still got to do all your photography and editing, and
exactly.
It's not, you're not going to make, you compared to what you're going to make from doing your photo and video stuff, you're not going to make that much money from the letters.
No, you're not.
But if you're focusing on it, there
is one that I even now sometimes I think I'm tempted to do that. I can't remember what it's called now, but it's basically we mentioned photo booths. It's basically your iPad, and you'll have probably seen it.
The 360 booth.
Oh no, not that one, but that's also a good one as well. I mean,
I
like
thought about buying one of them. Yeah,
yeah. We did an event with a 360 booth. It went down really well actually.
yeah.
We hired one for an event. No, it's your iPad, and it's set within like a tower, and it's got a light on it that'll flash and whatnot, and it's got a system, and you basically download the
I
app.
know someone who's someone who we probably know the same photographer.
It probably is, yeah.
That has.
Right. No, it wasn't a photographer actually. It was he just had that as a business. Right. So anyway, I was chatting to him. Like you download the app onto your iPad, and it's that's it. You're done. People go up to it, counts down 3, 2, 1. You take your photograph. It does a good flash, and actually, the pictures came out pretty decent. And he didn't have to man it at all. He just put a backdrop. He didn't do any props or anything like that. Just a backdrop, people cheese and smile and whatnot.
And they can email the photo to themselves. And stuff,
you can email the photos and whatnot. Exactly, yeah. But he said the license for it is like £100 a month or something. So it's quite pricey, to be fair. But like he had it out every weekend, 2-3 days a week. So I don't know how much he charged, but yeah, you can make some decent money on the side with that as well, or as an add-on. That's not a bad way to go. Because it is. I think, especially for like photographers and videographers, we need to think about add-ons that we can kind of either control ourselves with ease or leave to a side and let other people do it for you. Like it can control itself almost. You don't want to be taking up too much more of your own effort, do you?
No, because you've got a finite amount of time.
Yeah.
And if you're doing well with you might not be, if you're thinking about trying to get extra revenue, you might not be doing as well as you'd like. But
yeah,
at the end of the day, it doesn't take that much. And this time next year, you're full of bookings, and you're like, now I've got to sort this out, and I've got to split my time to this as well, and that's not working for me. But That's got some good stuff there with the weddings. I think it's always good to talk about like the additional stuff. You're already at the wedding, so you basically want that wedding to give you as much revenue as it possibly can. And I've thought about exploring outside. I'm a bit crazy, so like I'm into music, so I thought about doing the DJing. I mean, I tell you what, I almost was the fucking DJ a couple of weeks ago. Right, the couple get this. I'm gonna tell this story. So, couple have singing waiters, right? And the singing waiters were booked to do the usual in the middle of the meal, and then they were booked to do another session in the evening, right? And the couple thought that they'd booked the singing waiters as the DJ package. Turns out they hadn't. So the singing waiters were like, "Oh no, sorry, we've got to go at 8. Like we're doing our evening set, and then we go." And so they didn't have a DJ booked. Like the singing waiters were the sound system and all the equipment. So there was no lights, there was no music. So like basically my brother's he's in a wedding band, and he does like DJ set as well. Like, all the bands now, they do like wedding and sax and DJ and all, they basically cover all bases. So my brother does that. So I like got on the phone to him. I was like, "Can you come and do this?" He was like, "No, I've already got a gig." He's always got a fucking gig. He's never free. But I've got a load of DJing equipment. I've got a PA system and everything that's like, again, just because I thought, maybe I'll get into wedding DJ. So I was like going to do it, but I couldn't make it work. And I didn't have any lights either. It'd have been the most stressful thing trying to set this thing up that I haven't used for like a couple of years. So I didn't end up doing it. So I think they just played music through the fucking house sound system.
That'd have been an amazing story, wouldn't it? Photographer turns into DJ. I'd
have been plastering that all over. Yeah,
you'd have loved that. You'd have loved that, wouldn't you? I can imagine. Yeah.
I think
I can imagine you doing that.
It would have worked if it was the right sort of couple and right crowd, but it would have been like if I could have been playing house music and stuff. But it was very much. It was very much like it was quite not as upbeat as would work really for because you've got to be a particular type of DJ. No. Anyway,
that's brilliant.
So we'll steer it away from weddings just before we round up, just because there's other stuff you can do. Like I've already got all this gear. The thing is, I'm a bit of a serial gear tech buyer, even though like I try to be as minimalistic as I can when I'm shooting weddings. I get into stuff, and so over the years I've wanted to do commercial work, so I've kind of invested in like lighting and audio setups and like more cameras so that I could do different types of commercial work and live streaming work and things like that. So for me, I now probably get 20 to 30% of my yearly revenue comes from commercial work, which helps massively in terms of when I was talking about like the bottom number, as like you want to get to the bottom number and then everything else is a bit of a bonus afterwards. So, having those commercial jobs, and I find it good for not just not having all your eggs in one basket, but also for the variation, the variety in shooting stuff and the interest that I get from it. It renews my interest in stuff, and I have to learn new things as well. Like sometimes I'm not doing stuff that I've necessarily done a million times before, and I do a lot of stuff where I'm interviewing people, on camera. So it's not really event coverage as such. It's more like almost mini kind of documentary work, and I'm really into that. So that's like really, something I enjoy doing. But having that revenue coming from other streams, it just takes the pressure off with the weddings massively.
Yeah, I can see that.
And it's the thing is, if you've already got this gear, whether you're a photographer and you do commercial photography work, or whether you're a videographer, you do commercial video work, or if you do learn to shoot hybrid, and that's where the big thing is for me. Like I've got a job next week that only booked me a few weeks ago. It's just like chance stuff. Someone posted something in a Facebook group. I replied. I got the job. Like it's a good job. It's decent money, and it'll be good for my portfolio. It will be a little bit stressful because of the amount of stuff that I need to do. But because I do photo and video, I'm doing headshots, I'm doing photos of the business, and I'm doing video stuff.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But this just started off as a simple video job that probably
it just makes it easier for the client as well, doesn't it? Rather than trying to find two different businesses or a business.
Exactly. It was worth a quarter of it would have been worth a quarter of the money what it started with, and then it just grew into this much bigger job.
Yeah.
And if you didn't offer both photo and video, that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so and so I think, and I do jobs regular with this charity, and I have done for years. It's the same. They get me doing. I was doing headshots for them a few weeks ago, but then most of the time I'm doing video work.
Right.
And but it's just that variety means it gives me those options.
Yeah.
So it's just, you've got to think, if you've already invested in loads of equipment, it's just sat there and you're quiet and you haven't, there are things that you can do with that equipment to earn money, even if it's not obvious to you or something that you would normally be doing.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are stressing out about weddings and bookings and whatnot these days, aren't they? So yeah, I think to take the pressure off yourself, just diversify a little bit, and even if it's a couple of £100 here and there, it can make the difference at the end of the month, can't it? So
absolutely. I mean,
give it a go. What's there to lose? What's there to lose?
Even something like live streaming. So like a lot of people, I'll hear people say things like, "Oh, live streaming, is that still a thing?" Because like during the pandemic, people were live streaming the weddings and the funerals and stuff. I probably do at least half a dozen funerals every year, live streaming them, and like, I'm not going to say exactly how much I get from that, but it's more than worth it.
Yeah.
And there are few people doing it. And so, it's either get someone from London to come up and do it and charge twice as much as I'll charge for being local and doing it.
Yeah.
And it's a few hours.
So slightly not really on topic here. It kind of is, but so I've always been intrigued about these funeral like videos and whatnot. Like,
Mm.
what do you do? What's the process in that?
Depends what people want.
Yeah.
Um,
What's
there's a
the average?
market. There's a
What do they
market
usually
for
want?
highlight films.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, right? There's a market for a funeral highlight film,
Yeah.
which someone only 2 weeks ago inquired about. I didn't end up doing it because I think they probably looked at the money, the amount I quoted
Yeah.
for doing everything because they were wanting quite a lot of coverage
Yeah.
for this funeral.
Mhm.
So I think at the end of it, they decided that they didn't have the budget for that.
Yeah.
But there's a market for it, and the stuff I normally do is the live streaming. So I've got like equipment to be able to do multi-cam live streaming. It isn't that expensive to buy the equipment to start with. Obviously, you've already got your cameras. All you're doing is hooking my phone up to the box
Yeah.
and the box up to the cameras. And then there are different ways you can go. That'd be too much of a conversation to go through now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you go, turn up at the funeral. If they just want the service at the church covering, you're there for what? An hour, 2 hours.
So when you're at the church and whatnot, are you just on static cameras? Are you walking about like getting close-ups and stuff of people? Like, this is what I want to know. Like, are you being like, right, I'm going to capture?
Covering it like a TV show.
Is it?
Like
is it actually though? Is that what you do?
Yeah. So like, imagine if it's like a royal funeral and it's on telly. Obviously, that's a really big production with loads of money and loads of staff. But I'm just there on my own, or I might have an extra person, and I'm going to have 2 or 3 cameras. I'm going to have a wide to cut to like a cutaway, safety angle, and then I'm going to have
so similar to like
one or
filming a
two other
ceremony
options.
then.
Yeah, it's exactly the same. And I'm just going to have like a tighter up camera. So when someone goes up onto lectern, or when the minister's giving the sermons and all that, you kind of got a nice tight angle on them. You might do some tight angles of like the coffin. I know it sounds morbid, but stuff like that.
That's what people might want. It's a sensitive thing to photograph and film. It's I had quite a few inquiries over the pandemic. Couldn't do it. I just couldn't bring myself to doing it. I just didn't feel right. I don't know how I would have felt. I think in my head, I wasn't really bothered about the money side of it. Like, business is business, isn't it? But it was more the fact of, I don't know how comfortable I would have felt on the day capturing things how I should have captured it, which might have meant maybe being a bit intrusive. Do you know what I mean? It's a sensitive area.
Yeah, it's not going to be for everyone. It's not going to be for everyone. And actually, a videographer who we both know, he did live streaming, and he said he stopped doing funerals, and basically was sending me all the work.
Right.
And that was because he said he did one that was a child, and it really floored him, and he found that too difficult, and he decided he didn't want to do them anymore.
He's got kids, hasn't he? It's the same one I'm thinking of.
Yeah. And so I totally get that.
Yeah,
I totally get that. But I think because of my background of working in the police, I've seen a lot of bad shit, and it doesn't. I've kind of
you've learned how to switch off from that a bit.
Yeah, and I can just kind of do the job, if you know what I mean. And I think I've probably got that level of empathy that I can balance doing a job and being respectful. And I'm shooting, like on longer lenses, so I'm not really getting close. The idea is people don't really know I'm there. They will see me. It's I can't camouflage myself, but I'm not in people's faces. And if I'm being honest, the types of funerals that you typically the market for it is in communities that they're not bothered about people having cameras near them. They're used to it. So it's kind of like African Caribbean communities, Indian communities, like sort of like Asian communities. They don't just like at weddings, the photographers and videographers, they expect them to be quite intrusive. So it's those kind of communities where most of this funeral live streaming work is, and I think if it was at like my funeral, like, I think that would like I would stand out like a sore thumb. It doesn't stand
Yeah,
out so much
yeah.
in certain
Okay.
funerals.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting one. I've always been interested in like the approach and whatnot, but yeah, I haven't delved into that
It's
side of it.
set up like a church ceremony for a
Yeah,
wedding,
yeah,
and it's. I mean, we did one. Me and my brother did one. Like, my brother came and helped me around Christmas, just before Christmas, and that was one of the strangest ones I'd done, because I had to. It was like an African funeral, but it was in a funeral home, not in a church, because the religion was very specific that it wouldn't be in a church
yeah.
in this country. But there was only like a handful of those the churches of that faith in the
Hmm.
country. So
Right.
they had it in the funeral home. The funeral home had its own chapel, if you like.
Yeah.
And basically it was in there. So we set up in there, but we had to bring in video messages to play to everybody in the room and on the live stream. Like, the technicality of this was like,
That sounds hard.
it
Yeah.
was hard. It took some proper working out, but as well, the service was a couple of hours long,
Oh bloody
and
hell! Yeah.
it was crazy. Like, there was this guy came on and started doing this whole rant and was
Yeah.
talking about some really crazy stuff. But again, I think maybe the average person would find that quite like difficult. And
Yeah.
inside, I'm just like, some of it was cracking me up, because I was thinking, how the hell am I actually managing to do this?
Yeah.
Because it was really like, I literally had my brother's job during the service was to mute the telly, so that the
Brilliant.
rest, because the whole live stream was basically playing through the telly the whole service. But when the video messages came on, everyone in the room needed to hear it, because I was playing the video messages through my laptop, feeding it into the live stream. But then the live stream was then getting played on the telly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so they didn't want the whole service that was happening playing back on the telly, because it'd have sounded horrendous, like, like a loop. So his job was to mute and unmute the telly at the right time.
Did he do a good job, or did he screw it
He did
up?
a great job. He did a great job. But there's some
Bloody
times when
hell.
he was just looking over at me like proper trying to fight back, pissing himself because of like some of the stuff that
This is crazy.
this guy was
Yeah.
saying. Yeah. Anyway, probably said way too much.
let's we can't end on a morbid chat. So just before we go, another one that I know you do quite well is bar mitzvahs.
Yeah. Oh, mate, I hadn't even thought of that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean that's another revenue stream to maybe look into. And I did
Another market.
I did one with your first bar mitzvah. Well, no, second bar mitzvah maybe. But it was,
What did you think of it?
pretty good fun. It was good fun, wasn't it? I thought that they had a lot of money, is what I thought. So interesting. I mean, like, it's totally different ball game, isn't it? But I didn't really understand the whole tradition and what goes on and whatnot. But actually, it was good fun, wasn't it? They do have a good laugh there.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Again, I think it's hard to get into doing something like bar mitzvahs.
Yeah.
It's just like it's hard to get into doing like live streaming funerals of certain communities, and once you do one, it kind of tends to be
but
that you get asked to do more.
If you know someone that does one, maybe offer to like second shoot for free or something, as long as you can use the content and not advertise yourself for it. You're gonna eventually get there, aren't you? But I mean, like, it was almost like can you remember the program My Sweet 16?
Yeah, it's just like that.
Not admitting that I watched that at all, but but like it's like that, isn't it? Like they spend a lot of money on a big party.
A big party.
And it's as simple as that.
And again, I think it's about being respectful and trying to kind of like learn and understand what's going on and kind of the reasons around why they're doing things.
Yeah.
And if you can do that, then you kind of you're accepted in there to do that. Do you know what I mean? And then if you do a good job and they like what you do, then that's likely to bring repeat work.
Yeah.
I
mean, like that was the first time I shot with you, and probably the second time I've ever done a bar mitzvah, but like everyone was absolutely awesome there. So is that kind of the vibe that's always at a bar mitzvah? Like,
From what
or do you,
from I've done a few, and yeah, that's what it's been like. It's quite pressurized doing. You know, I wouldn't say there are many weddings. If there's people listening that have done Jewish weddings, or even kind of sort of some Asian weddings, that you have to think very differently.
Yeah.
There's a lot more going on. There's a lot more expected that you're going to capture that happens quickly. It's not like, you know, you've got to get in there and you've got a few minutes to capture it.
Yeah.
So you've got to be really switched on.
You need to, I mean, like, you definitely need to go in there with someone that's had the experience of doing it before, because I wouldn't have had a clue coming in with you. Like, I remember you walked up to me going, right, you stand on stage so you can get a high shot, because they're going to walk in a moment and they're going to be carrying them on chairs, and they're going to be throwing them as high as they can in the air type.
Yeah, and you've got some banging shots.
What the fuck are you on about? Oh yeah, that was fluke though. I was like, what are you on about? And all of a sudden, the next thing, I stood on stage and these guys are getting launched in the air. I was like, what's going on? What is going on here? It was bizarre, but great fun, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah. It's good fun. Yeah. So maybe look into that, and possibly if you're looking for a different revenue stream or whatnot. Yeah.
Absolutely. There are. I hope that this conversation has gone on way longer than
half an hour. Did we say? Yeah, an hour, just only a little hour over.
But hopefully it kind of highlights that there are maybe if all you've ever done is shot a wedding, like, and maybe a certain type of wedding, you know, from a typical local wedding that you know, kind of doing week in, week out, and maybe that's what you're absolutely happy doing. You want to do that, and that's all you want to do. What I'd say is that's absolutely fine. But if you love doing photo, you love doing video work, and you enjoy weddings, and you enjoy working with people, and you're looking to, you're thinking, I haven't got that much work, I need more. I hope that, like, kind of the chat that we've been having is that you can make extra money.
Yeah, you can,
just by kind of looking outside of whatever it is that you're currently doing, because there are loads of different things. And I think most of the things that we've talked about, I've had a go at, and I'm not telling everyone to do what I've done, because I am more of a jack of all trades, master of none type person. You know, I'll admit that I'm okay. I'm never going to be the best. And I'm okay with, I've made peace with that, because I enjoy the variety.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Right. That's it for this one. We're going to end with the song of the week as usual.
Before we started this podcast, got to tell you now, Jules, because we're gonna have to sort this out in a minute. Before I started this podcast, there was a fly in the room, and I locked it in the room opposite. It seems to have opened the door and escaped. So before the next podcast, I'm gonna have to get it out, because I can hear it.
What do you mean? What do you mean it's escape? How did it unlock the door?
It's in this. I've no idea. It's in this room again. It's the same fly. I can tell. It looks identical.
It looks identical.
Oh god, we better go now before I crack up. But yeah,
right.
You're gonna have to do some editing of this sound, because all you can hear is buzzing.
Song of the week this week is "Last Day on Earth" by Jude Cosmo. It's like an instrumental, ethereal. It's quite an emotive track. I actually used it. You know the elopement film I was talking about a few minutes ago? I actually used it in this week. So, yeah.
Did it fit well?
I think it fitted brilliantly. But I'll send you the link to the video, and you tell me what you think.
Okie dokie. Sounds good.
Right. See you later, guys.
Over and out.